Hello and welcome back to Off Track Podcast with me, Dave Neal. We've been away for a couple of weeks prior to the Speedway last week, but we're back firing on all cylinders. Just a little bit of real life and a bit of an illness getting in the way. Only a bit of a chest infection, but we're all clear and we're all back and firing on all cylinders and back from a weekend at Snetterton in Norfolk for round 3 of the Bennetts British Superbike Championship. For our first show back, we caught up with Raceways Yamaha boss Steve Rodgers on the Friday night of Snetterton. Been an incredible return for Raceways Yamaha, for Steve and for the team with their rider Bradley Ray, so we thought we'd get the lowdown on just exactly what happened and how it all came to pass. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy what we do, but absolutely, as always, that's enough from me. Let's get on with it. This is the superb Steve Rodgers. Enjoy. Steve Rodgers, Raceways Yamaha. Welcome back to BSB. Welcome back to Off Track. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, Dave. Yeah.
Nice here at Snetterton. We'll cover off Snetterton first, then we'll go into how you've ended up back here. But it's been a good day for Brad Ray.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
and
to be honest with you. Yeah, really good. We've hardly changed anything on the bike. It's really good. Same settings, just click here or click there since we really finished the last test. So yeah, great.
Everything's working well. The great thing is we weren't expecting to see you back here this year. At the end of 2023, great party. That was it. You were done. You were concentrating on the home life and the business, Raceways, motorcycles up in Fleetwood. And here you are back a few days into April. The call came. Tell us about the story of how you ended up back here.
Well, Stuart phoned me that morning to just say what was going on with the OMG thing. And I sort of said, well, okay, right. Well, didn't know what he wanted me to do. I wasn't too sure, really. So he just said, look, can you make a few calls to Yamaha and just see what we can we place, Kyle somewhere? Because obviously the main priority was really to put Kyle on a bike, obviously, with the #1 plate. So we sort of tried to do a little bit, help here and there, and nothing seemed to be happening for either, really. And then I think Kyle I got the feeling that Kyle had got something lined up, so I wasn't sure what was going on. So spoke to Brad, and Yamaha were dead keen. Stuart sort of was. So I thought, well, do you know what? Nobody's doing it, so we may as well have a go, aren't we? The opportunity was too good to miss.
Yeah. But the experience is there, the infrastructure's there. You've brought in a few different faces. Tony's still there and Matt's still there. So there's still the backbone of the original Raceways team that are still there.
I think it was. I mean, you say infrastructure was there. There wasn't, because obviously I sold everything to Alan at OMG when we finished.
As Raceways, I meant. Not
so
that was mechanic Yamaha as such. But
everything else was, everything else was
your
the
team.
The technology was there, because obviously we'd developed everything over 7 years, and we'd give everything, to the other Yamaha teams to run. So everything was there. It just seemed too good an opportunity, really, to miss.
How much did you miss it while you were away?
Do you know, honestly, I was all right. Once I got through the winter, and we weren't getting anything ready for the sort of start of the season, I was all right. I was cured. I thought, oh, goody, I'm all right. I'm not that bothered.
Cured is a great word.
It was good, yeah. the illness had gone.
But then here you are now. You've got Brad Ray as your rider. You're leading the championship.
Yeah.
You've won 4 out of the 5 first races and 4 out of 5 of the first 2 rounds. That was really poorly put, but you know what I mean.
I do. Yeah.
And you've hit the ground running. It's an amazing return for you and 5 blokes and a rider. And here you are, basically almost effectively out the back of a van.
Yeah.
Taking it to everybody else.
You don't want to sound sort of too cocky or anything like that, but I thought we would better hit the ground running, and I certainly thought we'd be on the podium. Winnings, obviously, you need a bit of luck, you need everything to work and all the rest, but I certainly thought that we'd be up there, else I wouldn't have sort of done it, to be fair. But yeah, he's a class act, isn't he? He's mega. So, and the boys are great. We was very, very lucky. Obviously, we've got Tony, like you say. Mark Woodage was available, his lad. Obviously, we've still got Matt, tyres and stuff. So, and obviously Tim Seed.
Yes, of course.
Tim obviously works for Yamaha at World, so we've got Tim when he's available. So, once we realised we could get everything together, it was like, and then obviously Brad agreed. It was, come on, yeah, crack on. So,
how much have you enjoyed working with Brad so far? He's a character and a half, and possibly one of the most laid-back riders you've worked with.
Oh, he's chilled. Yeah, he's chilled. No, he's great. I mean, to be honest with you, we have been very, very lucky. All the riders we've had over the years have been really good. But Brad's great. Yeah, really enjoying time with him. Yeah, he's good lad.
Tell me about how you're going to see the season progressing, because you're involved in other sides of racing as well. You're looking after Ash Barnes as well on the sport bike. Yeah. And also coming up in the future, we've got the R9 potentially coming in as well. So what involvement have you got sort of outside of the Superbike team?
Yeah, obviously, Ash, we helped Ash last year with the sport bike, and obviously we'd committed to helping him this year, hence why he's in the garage with us, because we'd already committed to that. So, and he's going well, you know, I think he was second quickest today. So, yeah, that job's good. There is the new R9 project for next year, which we're just in talks with Yamaha at the minute. And obviously with us being a GYTR Pro shop at work, so we sell all the track day bikes, the race bikes. So yeah, there's probably an opportunity, I would say, maybe to perhaps get involved with that as well. We'll see. Yeah, possibly.
How do you see the future of that side of things in super sport progressing? Because the next gen rules, and they're still being refined as we go on, and it's different from a manufacturer's input with the R9.
Yeah.
But do you see that potentially taking the superbike class one day, or do you just think it'll develop into a class of its own?
I think it's going to have to, because obviously, I mean, we see it from both sides, because obviously we're a motorbike dealership essentially. So we see what's selling and what's not selling. You know, sports bikes aren't selling, you know, I mean, we haven't even got an R1 we can sell on the road anymore. You know, the only R1s we have are GYTR and, you know, the race versions, which are track day and race use. So you've got to start racing motorcycles that manufacturers are building. Otherwise, they'll lose interest. So I'm not sure when, and I'm not sure it'll be in the next sort of 2-3 years, but it will at some point, because there'll not be any about.
When you look back over before pre-finishing at the end of 23, what was your greatest satisfaction as team boss?
Oh, winning the championship with Taz. You know, that year was the dearest year we've ever had in motorcycle racing, because obviously I think they won 23 out of the 33 races, and then they were on the podium, both of them, in every single round pretty much. The bonus job was ridiculous.
Invoice.
You know, honestly, ridiculous. But, you know, we won it, so yeah, that.
But the bug is obviously still there, because you wouldn't have come back if it wasn't. So how much did the break improve that feeling? I know you said you were cured from the racing point of view, but now you're back and you're back in the thick of it and you're leading the championship.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know, it's difficult. I mean, we've always raced, haven't we, as you know? Yeah. I mean, you know, I think because you know, on the last podcast we did, you know, we started racing when I was 18 years old, when I'd just had my accident, you know, with Jonathan at work. So on and off, we've been racing more in the last 35 years than we've not. So, but it's really strange, because every time we get back into racing, it's never intentional. It's never something we've planned. You know, when we got in, you know, Keith Flint based his team up at ours in the race workshop, you know, in 14. And then we ended up helping him with the T2 with engines and stuff, 14 and 15. 16, we sort of got involved a bit more because Keith was backing out. And then 17, we ended up running it with Grant, you know, the McCann's job, and it went from there. But it wasn't intentional to get involved. You know, and this was the same. It's just, you look at it and there's an opportunity and you think, do you know what, we can do a job there, and because we like winning.
It's not a bad start, is it?
Yeah.
We've done all right. But the 2023 season, it wasn't the easiest to end on, was it, in the grand scheme of things? Because you had Jason, who, like clockwork, a man on the podium, knew what he had to do, knew everything that was ready with the bike. He was a perfect member of the team. Tim Neve came in. It didn't quite work for Tim. It was difficult for him with injury.
Yeah.
And then Tito Rabat came in, and then Nico Canepa at the end of the season. there was a lot of change that year, and it didn't make it kind of the easiest year for you.
No, it wasn't really. I mean, 22...
Compared to the stability you'd had previously.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, you look at it and think, well, hang on, how did we not win the championship more than once? You know, I mean, it was ridiculous, but it is what it is, and you need a little bit of luck. And how did Jason not win the championship? You know, I mean, he nearly won it in 2020, nearly won it in 21, same again in 22. When you remember going into the showdown, it was not far off Brad going into the showdown.
That's right.
So, yeah, I mean, 23, I think I'd decided we were finishing at the end of that year because we told everybody early. And there wasn't anybody out there who you could just go, yeah, put them on it for the year. So I think we just sort of thought, well, we'll just see who we can get, you know, and finished off with Nico, who ended up running the World Superbike job. So yeah, it's nice for Nico to ride the BSB bike because he never had.
Because it was something that he wanted to do as well, wasn't it? It was something he was keen on. The experience that he'd got with the R1 at endurance level and at World Superbike level, it was great for him to come over and see how the job worked here.
Yeah,
compared to what it did over on the continent.
Yeah, and it was great. I mean, he really enjoyed it, and it was just, it was just a nice thank you for all the years of him helping us with stuff, you know. So yeah, it was good.
Is there a decision during running your Raceways motorcycles, the Raceways team? Is there a decision that still haunts you?
Decision? Yeah, there is one really. You know, we started the Superbike job with Yamaha in 17. Yeah. It was difficult, you know. The bike wasn't. It was, well, we won some races the first year, so it wasn't that bad, but it was difficult. And then we committed, and we had Josh in year 2. And to be honest with you, we didn't have the right people in the places. We had some good people, but we didn't have we didn't have everything to take Josh to do a mega. I think we let him down a little bit. I don't think we did a good enough job because I think we're a little bit too inexperienced with the Superbike job, for me.
Yes, because was that the following year he went to TAG?
No, he was at TAG the year before.
TAG the year before. So he'd finished third the year before, hadn't he? And then coming into the team.
Yeah, second by
points. Yeah, because Leon ended up third, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Shaky won it.
That's it, yeah.
So to come to you as a championship contender.
Yeah, you know, really, we expected, and I think he finished 4th.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we won some races. I think we won 5 or 6 races. But, you know, for me, we should have taken Josh a year later when we'd just got things a little bit more sorted. It takes time running a Superbike team. You know, it's not just, oh, there's the bikes, there's some people. You need all the right people in the right place. You need the right bike, manufacturer backing, money, budget. You know, there's so many things that have to fall into place to be at the front. It's not easy. You know, all these teams that are here are all trying to be at the front and win. And go and ask all of them, it ain't easy. And you do need everything to make it work.
We've said it on the podcast many a time, and both from a rider and from a team perspective, a team boss, team owner perspective, the planets have to align. This thing doesn't happen overnight, and there are so many working parts to make it be what you want it to be. You have to have the planets, and you've got to have a little bit of luck on your side as well.
You do. It's difficult. And if you look at the work that goes in, you know, away from the track, you know, the lads don't stop. You know, I mean, we were very lucky that because of Yamaha and obviously what happened with OMG, that we could go and get Brad's bike, you know, and obviously we just ran it as it was. They built a great bike. It's obviously, it's basically what we sold them. Anyway, there's a few bits and bobs changed, not really a great deal. But then we'd not had time to really go through it, you know. So in between now, that you know, it's been apart, it's back together. We've done some bits and bobs. They've spent 2 days on the dyno. We've got a bit more out of it. Just little bits that have moved on since we finished, and you know, and you almost make it ours.
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, there's a lot to it, and you do need a little bit of luck on your side, definitely.
Has it helped that the bike hasn't, because of, I guess, the age of the bike and the development from a manufacturer point of view, it hasn't moved on in leaps and bounds? They haven't brought a new version out, so you haven't had to relearn a new bike. But also, what I've noticed in pit lane, forgive me if I'm wrong, correct me please, you're the only one running the wings on the R1 this year?
Yeah, I think the other two teams
They've
seem
tried
to be
it.
on, off, on,
Yeah.
off. You know, we just put them on and just went, Brad, we'll leave it, because it does affect engine brake. It does affect all sorts of bits and bobs when you look at it. So we're leaving it, and then it stays the same. You know, and that's just how it is. They're on, and it's not affect us. I mean, you know, whenever you've seen a Yamaha, I mean, it was quickest through the start finish here. It's not, the Yamaha works really, really well in BSB because the chassis is really good. It's good horsepower, but it's not massive. It's not a BMW and it's not a Ducati, but you can use more of the power that you have. So it makes a really good BSB bike. The connection is fantastic. So yeah, it works really well here.
The circuits that we go to across the Bennetts British Superbike Championship, for want of plucking a figure out of the air, how often are you going to use a potential 260 brake horsepower motorcycle on the tracks that we use? So you're going to be dialing stuff out of some of the whether it's the BMW, the Ducati, whatever they're running, bringing it back to a more usable horsepower.
You're not using
we did it
power.
with Taz, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, well that's a different engine.
At Alton Park.
Nearly 20 horsepower less.
That was near a stock engine, if I'm
not
right.
far off, yeah.
Nearer
Yeah,
a stock
yeah, it
engine
was.
than a superbike
Yeah,
engine.
it was.
And it worked so well for
Yeah,
him.
it worked for him because he felt the bike was taking him round, not him taking the
He
bike.
did say like it was a flea on the dog's back at one point. Yeah. But if you can dial the power out and the bike still retains its characteristics as a Yamaha, horsepower isn't everything.
No, it's not. And, you know, I mean, we're here now, and obviously, you know, Brad's just got into the 46s. But 2017, what did Shaky go around here on? 46 flat.
It was a 40, it wasn't
with
early.
Probably 30 horsepower less. All right, NX qualifying tyre, but it's still a 46 flat, you know? So 8 years ago, we're 0.8 off.
And the great thing about Shaky, he'll tell you.
Oh, you don't you worry. He's mentioned it once or twice. Yeah.
You've got to expect it to.
Said to Brad, he goes, Brad, you've only got to find 0.8.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
And I think another good thing for this year, because without running last year, the switch now to the new SC0, which is closer to the X, is kind of closer to what you finished with in 23. Moved away a little bit last year. But I think the regulation, it is still a 0, but it's a slightly different construction.
Yeah.
And Brad seems to like it. It's almost akin to what he was riding in World Superbikes.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Within construction-wise, anyway.
Yeah, I think the tyre job, I mean, it's given the Ducati a little bit more edge grip. I think supposedly the BM, but that they don't seem to be coming to the front as much. The Yamaha seems to work whatever you put in it. You know, I mean, we could run the old Zeros, which were a little bit harder. You know, we could put the X's in from a few years ago. You know, I mean, you know, some of the shorter races, we used to run the qualifying X tyre. Yeah. We could run it, you know, it was that good on tyres. So the Yamaha's not as affected. It's give us a bit more grip, yeah, but we could still get grip from the old tyre.
And sometimes too much grip is a conundrum you don't need.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we haven't suffered with that yet. We're using all of it at the minute.
Just enough.
Yeah.
Using just enough. What I'm going to do, if you excuse me while I just grab my phone, we have our patrons. They contribute every month to what we do to help keep us running, which we're super grateful for. Some great people on there, and they ask some fabulous questions. So I don't read these beforehand. So they're coming direct to you. So these are coming direct to you from our patrons. First one up is Andy Dickinson. He said, it's great to see you back and Raceways back in the paddock. Always a brilliantly run team with consistently strong results. Is your return long-term or is it only for this season?
Would probably, I would think, looking at it, possibly go again next year. One, we need to try and retain Brad, obviously, to go again with a superbike, really. And the R9 project is very interesting and it's good for business as well, you know. I mean, you know, we sell track day bikes. So, yeah, I mean, we're in negotiations at the minute, so we'll see how we go. But the interest is there, definitely.
But you're a bike dealer at the end of the day. Business is still business, isn't it?
Correct, yes. Yeah.
So Raceways Motorcycles in Fleetwood.
Yeah.
I'll give you a bit of a plug. And that is something that Andy follows on with. If Brad was to move back to World Superbike, who would you choose to have in his place?
Who would I choose? Oh, difficult one, really, to be honest with you. I think Rory's a good talent. Rory's good, yeah. I think Max Cook would be good on a Yamaha. I think Max Cook would be good. Yeah, well, them two, really. I think young, keen, talented, yeah.
They're the future of the series, aren't
I think you're right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Let's be fair. And you throw Charlie Nesbitt into that as well.
Yeah.
That 22, 23-year-old bracket, there's 4 really fast, talented riders in there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and you're right. They are the future of the sport. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andy, for that one. Chris Turner, did you ever have the opportunity to run a team in World Superbike?
No, I haven't, to be dead honest with you. A couple of people have asked me if we would, just asking, have you ever thought of it? But no, and it's not something really I want to do, to be honest with you. We're a British-based business, and for us, UK's just, it's where everything works for us.
It's your market, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is.
One more from Chris. Which rider or riders would you have liked to have worked with, and why?
Like to have worked with? Well,
we'll keep that at BSB level. Because
yeah.
Mark Marquez, Pecco, Fabio, we'd all have a crack at that from a British Superbike perspective.
A British Superbike perspective,
yeah.
Let me think. Probably Shaky, to be fair. Yeah. Probably Shaky, really. Yeah.
I would have thought, because it's one of the you've worked with several top riders and British champions over the years, and Shaky is the one that you haven't.
No,
and it would be interesting to see how the dynamic worked. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Chris. Mick Strickland, great to see Raceways back in the paddock, and especially Steve. Always get a measured response on interviews, considered answers, and is a great ambassador for BSB and the sport. Brad is going incredibly well. The Yamaha is on point, as expected from a Raceways bike, and is looking like the contender, to be honest, for 25. Why does Steve think Danny Kent is so far behind on the McCams Yamaha this season? Is it a different bike completely, or just subtle changes from the factory supported bike? It's year 2, and I thought he would have been up the sharp end this year from the off. There's a loaded question for you, mate.
Yeah, I can tell you it's the same bike.
Yeah.
In fact, we've done some work last week, and we give Chris Anderson, who's crew chief there, all the information, maps and stuff. So here they are basically running exactly pretty much same as what Brad's got. It's difficult to say. I mean, he had a bit of a big crash at Donington, a big crash that. I think, but if you look at Donington, he was going faster than he was last year. I know everybody is, but the pace has really increased. Brad's come back, Glenn's pushing like mad, Kyle's, they are everywhere. He's fast, isn't it?
With lap record every round so far.
It is. So I don't think he's far off. He just needs to get a little bit more confidence from obviously the big crash at Donington. He'll be up there again, without a doubt, But bike-wise, he's got what we've got.
Perfect. I want to see Danny up there. You're not world champion for no reason.
Oh, exactly.
Just that little bit of confidence.
His quality.
And he's a great kid as well.
Yeah.
So you want to see all the good lads up there, don't you? That's it. And he's one of them that you want to see pushing at the front, because it's another Yamaha. It's another one thrown into the mix. It gives Glenn, it gives Brad, it gives Kyle something to think about. And it's what makes the championship what it is.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed he can make a good step this weekend. Thank you, Mick. Simon Breeze. How does Steve perceive, this goes back to a little bit of what we said earlier on, how does Steve perceive the future of superbike racing over the next few years?
Yes, like we said before, I mean, at some point, I think you have a good 2-3 years maybe, a superbike in the format that it is, but it will eventually have to go, super sport as is now. I think will end up being your superbike class, maybe with a few tweaks, I'm not sure. But it's going to have to be, as emissions get tighter and manufacturers don't make the bikes, especially for the European market, the manufacturers are going to want to push what they make.
And that also goes for World Superbike. It's not just from a British.
Yeah, World Superbike
that is
as well.
Superbike racing across the globe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, you've also got people, you know, in 2027, MotoGP's changing. It's going to 850cc. They're losing quite a lot of their electronic devices and stuff. So they're going to be slower lap time. So where, you know, and it's promoted by the same people now, you can't have World Superbike lapping faster than MotoGP. No. So things will change, but exactly what at the minute, I'm not 100%, but.
If I'm right, you know this better than I do. I think I'm right in saying that World Superbike is the last open electronic series.
Yeah.
Because MotoGP's capped.
Yeah.
We use Motec, which is supplied electronics in that sense. Yeah. But at World Superbike level, you can go corner by corner and.
Yeah, they've still got everything.
Well, they're GPs of 3 or 4 years ago, aren't they?
Yeah,
before the cap came in.
Yeah, they have. They've. I mean, obviously Timmy works for us, and they have got everything.
Yeah,
you know, it's. Yeah, I think control ECU has got to be the way to go, because you do need an electronics man. But when you start going, you know, how they are in World Superbikes, they need 2 or 3. So, and you've got to control the cost, because. You know, motorcycling is, you know, in motorcycle racing, we're struggling to attract those big brand sponsors now.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got to get costs down a little bit, you know.
And if we keep costs down, we keep hold of teams. We don't want to see people not making it to the end of the season or not returning next year.
That's it.
It's an expensive world to live in.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And to enter top level sport, even at a British level, the expense is, you know, obviously I worked for OMG a couple of years ago. I know a rough idea of a budget for a superbike team, a 2-rider superbike team for a season is 7 figures.
Yeah, you need £1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need £1 million.
There or thereabouts.
Yeah, so you know that
money.
I mean, that's including your hospitality.
Oh no, that's the whole. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's what you need. Yeah.
Huge amount of money.
Yeah.
And Simon's final question. This is more for one back home. What's the biggest change you've seen in the motorcycle retail industry over the past 3 or 4 years?
3 or 4 years. Not masses over 3 or 4 years, but sort of 10, 12 years. You know, we have a picture from, you know, on the stairs at work, looking down into the showroom, and sort of 15 years ago, say, it was 2/3 sports bikes. Yeah. You know, you look now and there's probably 10 of them at the back of the showroom. You know, so your motorcyclist is getting older, your demographic of your rider is older, so it's more naked, upright bikes. The industry in general is struggling a little bit, just getting the younger rider in. It doesn't seem to be fashionable at the minute. You know, we're Yamaha dealer. We don't have a 50cc moped. We have an electric Neos, which is great, but we don't have, you know, that moped sort of to get the kid hooked to then say, I want a 125. You know, we do bike training at work as well. And, you know, everybody's 40 plus doing the test, you know. And I don't think the fact that, you know, until you wait till you're 24 to do your test, if you want to do it earlier, you have to do 2 tests. You have to do it twice. It's not helping.
And the insurance costs on top of that as well now are astronomical.
It is.
When you go back to when we were sort of just leaving school, you had RGV 250s, you had TZR 125, ER50s and AR 50s. It was the dumb thing. That's how you got about. And then that's not there now, but that's still the age group that we're looking at now, 45 plus. 60% of our viewers and subscribers are 40 plus.
Yeah.
You look around at BSB, we've got to bring the youngsters into it. The ones that are coming with their family now, we need them to carry on with their mates, with their girlfriend, with their kids, because that's how my daughter got into racing. It's how I got into racing. And we need to keep that chain coming on, because nobody's turning up on the bikes anymore.
No, it's a difficult one. Because you look at Europe, and you know, everybody, all the ex-riders now seem to have their own little talent scouting group and training group and everything, you know. So, and I know they've got the weather out in Spain and all the rest. But here, British talent, it's difficult to bring through, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's and it is hard, and we're helping Ash with the sport bike and stuff. Well, it's our bike, you know, we build it and stuff. But it is difficult, and we've not really done much of it in the past, because, you know, when you're running a team, you've got a sponsor, people want results. it is a results-driven industry. So you have got to put a doer on the bike, 2 really if you can, if you can afford it, 2
absolutely.
of them, you know, because that's what people want. So it's very difficult to give those young uns a chance. You know, I mean, FS3 have been fantastic, you know, with Cook, absolutely fantastic, you know. Same with the Master Mac, you know. They've give Charlie Nesbitt an opportunity, but it's sometimes when you've got big sponsors that are wanting results, it's difficult to do.
Well, as you've worked with the rider, we'll come on something that Craig Lowe's asking shortly. Thank you for that one, Simon. Seeing the young riders progress, it's something that that you see with teams a lot of time. They'll always go for the experienced riders because they know how to ride the bikes, they know how to win races, and whether you can see Josh Brooks still at the sharp end at I think he's 41 now.
Oh, I must be nearly 50, Josh. Surely.
I'm not want to do him a disservice.
Sorry, Josh.
He'll kick my ankles next time. But the riders that have had, you James Ellison's, the riders, Glenn, Tommy are heading that way now. Christian Hidden, bless him, and I don't want to remind him, but he starts with a 4 as well, just recently. But that's, how do you get over that hurdle of bringing someone in? I've got Charlie on the show next. He's in his 3rd season with Hawk, and I always find the 3rd season in British Superbikes is pivotal. You have to be sort of top 6, top 8 on a regular basis to then put yourself in the window for the factory teams and the front running teams.
Yeah, I think it is. You know, and if, I mean, obviously you look at the dynamic of the championship now, there's a lot of now 1-rider teams now, because obviously the cost of 2 is getting a little bit out of control. So it's even worse now because you need a doer. You haven't got a second bike. You know, when we put Taz on the Superbike in 18, you know, it was a bit of a, well, we'll have a go, you know, but I couldn't do that now with 1 bike because I need somebody who can win.
Yeah.
You know, we had to wait 3 years for him to win. I mean, it was, you know, it was a mega journey. It was fantastic. You know, crashed a couple of bikes here and there, didn't he? Cost us a few quid, but it was a fantastic journey.
He delivered a title in the end, didn't he?
He certainly did. And his bike sat in my hallway at home still.
Brilliant. And he's not a bad lad to work with.
No.
He's having a bit of a tough time at the minute. But
he's having a tough time, all right.
He's still the Taz that we know and love.
He is. He's a lot better than that, let me tell you. A lot better.
Fingers crossed we'll see him. Well, who knows? I don't know. It's difficult to speculate. It's only so far into the World Superbike. But yes, he's a better rider.
He's a lot better
than the results are showing at this point.
I think James Toseland hit the name on the head. This, you know, the nail on the head.
Yeah, he did.
There is something fundamentally wrong. Because trust me, having worked with him for all those years, he's a talented lad. You know, and that is not him.
It's not the Taz that we've come to know and love, is it? He's a peddler, and his determination is up there with the best of them here. So to see where he is and the results that are coming in, something has to change.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah,
and we'll see what comes with that.
Yeah.
That's a whole different podcast and a whole different story. Craig Lowe, how does Brad compare to the other riders you've had on your bikes over the years?
Very similar talent-wise and sort of results-wise. Very good. I mean, because obviously, you know, Jason, you know, you knew you're always going to be top 3 or 4. You know, you qualify and you always knew they were going to be at the front, on the front row, whatever. He's probably a bit more chilled, but saying that, Taz was.
Yeah.
And Jason was focused in the garage, but getting him out of the garage is mega. Good crackers, Jason. No, really, they've all, to be honest, all really, really good. Really good to work with. Nice kids. I do like, you know, I don't want like any idiots or I'd like nice, working with nice people. It makes the job easier.
It's a difficult enough job, isn't it, without...
Yes.
So were you always quite considered in that sense then to who you chose to ride for? You were in a fortunate position with Jason and Taz that they did consecutive seasons because it wasn't broke, so why fix it?
No, that's it,
So that's a fortunate position to be in. But that's something that, as you've done over the years, considered the rider on how they would fit into
I think
the
so,
Raceways
because
team as a whole.
Well, you get more out of everything. You get the best of everything then, don't you? It's not just get the best out of the rider, you get the best out of the people, because they want to do a job for that rider. You know, them lads in the garage now would do anything for Brad. They'd bend over backwards. Whatever he needed doing, they'd do. You know, and that's what you need.
I was talking to somebody in hospitality here earlier on, and this isn't blowing smoke, this is genuinely what he said. But he also said the same about you.
of putting that team together, the lads that were working for you would work for you under any circumstances. And I think that's a great indictment from somebody outside of your team to level that at you and what you've brought back into the paddock.
Yeah, it's great. Well, thank you, whoever that was. Nice.
I'll tell you after.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when we ran McCann's, it was great. I mean, we went, we did a mega job, but then we had a couple of beers and we had a good time. We enjoyed it because it's motorbike racing, you know, and you've got to enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, you need to stop. So we did have a great time with a fantastic bunch of people. And I think we've been very, very lucky to replicate the same atmosphere now.
Was that in the same way of bringing in Brains and bringing in Brad?
Unbelievable. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks.
The good Lord Johnny Mowat. I keep trying to get him on the
Fantastic.
podcast, but I think that would be the last podcast we ever do.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, be banned.
PBM's Johnny Mowat. What an absolute legend. Yeah, that'd be a full mic drop moment.
Oh,
wouldn't it?
yes.
First week X.
Well, what was you saying? Yeah, about handpicking the team, because there were a couple of gaps to fill, because like I say, you've got Tony, you've got Matt, you've got Tim. So bringing in Brains, bringing in Brad, it's the right people. It's round pegs in.
We were just very lucky, weren't we? I mean, obviously they were going to work with OMG.
Yes, they were.
So we were just lucky they were available, and obviously I've known Mark since we were, 17, 18.
Oh, he's from that neck of the woods.
Yeah,
way on, isn't he?
He's like used to live 2 mile down the road from where I live now.
Yeah.
So obviously worked at Frank Rathel's. So I've known him through that for a long time. So never worked with him, obviously, but so I knew Brains anyway. So it was weird because I was going to phone him. I spoke to Brad, and Brad said, "Yeah, job's on." I was like, "Wow, right, okay, we've got that bit. I need to speak to Brains." I mean, you wouldn't believe it. Within an hour, he phoned me. I said, "Mark," I said, "You are kidding me." I said, "I was just going to phone you." He goes, "Oh, I heard this bit of a rumour that you might be doing something. Do you need me?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And that was that. And obviously his lad comes, Brad, who's really, really good, really impressed with him. Young lad, got an old head on a young shoulders, really nice kid. And obviously he's learning everything off Tony.
Yeah.
Tony's been there, seen it, done it, built all the bikes for everybody, you know, so yeah, it's great. Yeah, we were very lucky.
And think for having a young mechanic like Brad, because I think he's only just, is he 21?
22, I think.
22,
Yeah,
same age as my daughter. Yeah, there aren't too many of them in the paddock.
No.
And there are less of them in pit lane at the top end of the superbike. Lewis at OMG, Harry at PBM. There's a couple of the young lads in at Honda, but to bring one in to your team as well, it's like that fits really well. And to learn off Tony is a huge bonus for him.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, it's his first year in Superbike, and honestly, what a great job he's doing. I mean, he even came up to the workshop last week. Because engine was out, it'd gone for refresh, you know, so Tony said, "Come up, we haven't done an engine swap yet." So 5 a.m, he's driving from Sheffield up to the workshop, you know, to go through it. Spent all day in and out a couple of times, make sure we got everything so we could swap an engine in 40 minutes if we need to.
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. So we're very lucky that the people were available, you know, very lucky.
Another thing that Craig asked, I think we did touch on this earlier, was how hard or easy was the comeback decision? The actual yes or no for you?
It wasn't that difficult. I mean, when obviously we tried to get other people to run Brad, and you know, and that didn't seem to gel. So it was sort of like, you know, there was the opportunity. I just looked at it. I was driving home with Wendy, and Wendy said, "This is the wife, by the way." She says, "What are you thinking about?" I said, "Why? What's up?" She goes, "You're just dead quiet. What are you thinking?" And I'd already mentioned something that, you know, maybe we could, you know, and she said, "You're going racing again, aren't you?" I said, "Well, yeah, I think so." She said, "Oh, just get on with it."
And it's the right thing. We've said it on the podcast before that so many riders have it. You have it, I have it, and I think a lot of the guys watching it behind every great man, there's an even greater woman.
There she
'Cause
is.
We
yeah.
can't do what we do without them.
No,
Well, we could, but it'd be an awful lot more difficult.
It would. Yes, you're right. Yeah. No, she's never. I've always done what to do anyway. I mean, sometimes I think, crikey, she's stuck with me, hasn't she?
She has.
I just, yeah, I just do
For the
tend to
grace
do-
of God, Steve.
Yes, yes, I do just do what I want. Yeah, sometimes. Yes.
That's what we're here once, aren't we?
Yeah,
Might as
exactly.
well.
Yeah.
And this is a great question from Craig. What moment from your team's history would you have liked to have seen and experienced from the rider's point of view? I love that question.
From the rider's point of view.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've got to be back to obviously being Taz in 2021. You know, the team, he won the Riders' Championship, won the Teams' Championship, the Manufacturers' Championship. It was 25 years since his dad won it, the very first one. It was, being Taz then would have been fantastic.
Wonderful.
It would have been fantastic, wouldn't it?
I think it is one of the pinnacle of the Raceway's career, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously we ran
The effort
Supersport.
that you put into it, ran at Supersport as well, but
Yeah.
for everything that you put into it over 25 years, culminated there.
Yeah, we just, because I think first British Championship we won. We finished second something like 5 times, with Supersport and Superbike.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like, it was almost like a sigh of relief.
You find that a lot, whether it's with riders or with teams, that there isn't a huge amount of elation. Something you expect, you have a party, you celebrate it, you enjoy it, but the inner feeling is, thank God for that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you think,
Finally.
about time.
Yeah.
Phew, yeah.
And then your next thought is, what's next?
Yeah,
let's go and
Then
do
you
it
think,
again.
right, how are we going to retain this? We need to retain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird psyche with riders and with teams, because I've spoken to so many riders on the cool down lap that they've won a championship or they've won the first race. By the time they get to sector 3, like, right, what's next?
Yeah.
How do we defend it? How do we carry on? How do we build on this? Because that's what drives people on in motorcycle racing.
It is. Yeah, it is.
It's the most incredible thing. And the one thing that for the final question I ask every guest, and I've seen some of your cars, and I see some of the wonderful cars that you have. I'm going to ask you what your favourite is, because I'm sure you've got. In fact, go on then. We'll do that first. You've had some fantastic cars over the years.
Well, yeah.
The Audi A4 was my favourite.
No.
The RS,
yeah.
the RS4, should I say?
The RS4, yeah.
The RS4 was nice.
458 Italia.
Because you love your cars as well as your bikes, don't you?
That was we have got a Ferrari now, but the 458 Italia I had back in 2010 was unbelievable thing. Unbelievable piece of kit. Yeah.
And of all the travelling that you've done and all the places that you've been, and I'm sure you've been part of it as well, what's your best hire car story?
Well, you see, I'll never drive any, do I? Because I need angle controls.
I know.
I have the unfortunate position of having to be in the passenger seat.
Exactly.
But
But you can legitimately say, as most people do on our podcast, when I ask them this question, well, I wasn't driving, but,
No.
and you're like, you were, because somebody else has already told me you were. But in your case, you can
definitely,
legitimately say it.
definitely not me. Pushing people across junctions when you're behind them into moving traffic is not an ideal thing in a hire car. It's not ideal. Racing out of, toll roads and, honestly, when you're sat there thinking, oh my God, lads. Yeah, there's a few. We've never had an accident, thank God.
Oh, good.
No, we've been all right. We've never took one back when wheels missing a road, so.
And I was, from mentioning the toll roads, how much do you enjoy the toll road on the M6? Do you, or are you well behaved now, Steve?
We're on 9 points at the minute. We're having to just be steady.
Driver, that's,
I know.
yeah, no.
Speed awareness course is done. We're up to the hilt, aren't we? So
You can nearly rewrap.
you got to pull back a bit. Yeah.
There's all shits
Slow
and
down,
giggles until someone giggles and shits.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? Yeah.
Steve, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
It's a pleasure to see you here at Snetterton. It's a pleasure to have you back on the podcast and in the championship. Wish you all the very best for the rest of the season. Let's reconvene towards the end of the year. Let's see how the job's going.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. We'll still be at the sharp end. and it might just be a successful season. Let's see.
We'll try. Thanks, Dave.
Brilliant.
Much
Thanks, Steve.
appreciated. Thank you very,
Brilliant,
very
mate.
much.
Thank you very much.
A big thank you to Steve for joining us on the Friday at Snetterton, and a massive thank you also goes to Tom Bradbury at Yamaha UK for helping organise the chat. What a weekend for Raceways Yamaha and for Brad Ray. It was incredible, wasn't it? 3 race wins, 3 pole positions, 1 lap record, 2 fastest laps, topped every session. The only thing that he could have done was set lap records in races 2 and 3 just to make it really perfect. But you're not going to get domination any better than that. It's stunning to see. Is it boring? No, you have to watch the racing in a different way. You've got to sit back and just admire what Brad and the Raceways Yamaha team are doing, because it is simply sensational. Who we got up next? We've got Charlie Nesbitt, the Mastermac Honda rider. We caught up with him also on the Friday at Snetterton. We'll be bringing him to you next week. But before we go, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who came up and said hello at the Ixon ride-up stage for the BSB Fan Zone at Snetterton. It was our first weekend with the Fan Zone, and it was absolutely superb. Great to see so many of you there. If you come into a BSB round this season, you'll see the Fan Zone. We've got plenty of riders, plenty of chat lined up, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And also a big thank you if you sent a comment as well on Facebook and Instagram when we posted the new job. So thank you to all of you. We'll be back next week with Charlie Nesbitt, as we said. So until then, please do look after yourself, and thank you so very much for watching. Bye-bye.